what has happened today. But like I said, I don't want to speak over any black or people of color in the community. So once we're done with this, I will raid Cat, and I encourage anybody that watches this in video form on YouTube afterwards to please go over to I'm Cat with 2 T's on Twitter. Let me just double check that. I believe it's two T's on Twitter. Yeah, I'm Cat with 2 T's, then underscore at the end. I'm Cat, 2 T's and an underscore. Go and follow her on Twitter. She'll have a lot of information. She always does about these topics. So please go and check her out, and we'll raid her after this and stuff, so that you guys can get the information you need. Okay, so basically what happened was, I'm going to give you guys best information I can. From what I've gathered so far, there was a situation ongoing inside of the Bunny High Discord account whereby some people initially had begun by discussing whether or not a specific term was allowed or not inside of the Discord, which was a term. I'm not going to use it because I don't want to, and I don't know if I also don't really know what this term really means, but I think it might be a term used a lot in America. But it begins with a C, and apparently it's a term used to describe white people. But I don't, from what I understand, know that it's inappropriate to use that term because I don't really even know what it means. But people were basically arguing and stating that it shouldn't be allowed in the server because it's derogatory. But then some people were comparing it to the same level of being inappropriate as using the N-word. And I was like most people, obviously it's not anywhere near as bad as using the N-word, obviously, because using the N-word is unacceptable. And, you know, I think fairly enough, a lot of people were very confused. And a person of color, or a black person, I'm not sure if they were black or a person of color, but they responded trying to explain this. And one of the moderators responded to them and said it was being compared to slurs in general. Okay, so it was being compared to slurs in general. Right, so it was being...
Sarah, you said you were buying a car today.
Dad.
I stayed up and crunched all the numbers.
I already used Capital One.
Just as bad as other slurs, which obviously it is not. And somebody in the community tried to explain, who was black or a person of color themselves, that obviously it isn't, but they were doing so in a somewhat, I guess, not calm manner. And one of the moderators responded asking them to not be aggressive. And obviously people were obviously taken aback by that because the moderator was calling the black or person of color aggressive for attempting to explain to people that that wasn't, you know, it's not a slur. It's not a slur. Especially not on the same level as words that are genuine slurs and derogatory things, you know, like the N-word. Anyways, so obviously it isn't appropriate for a white person to be calling a black person aggressive for defending themselves when it comes, or trying to explain to people when it comes and educate when it comes to like slurs and things like that. Obviously that's not acceptable. Now, what should have happened immediately is that the moderator in question should have been educated by the owners, by whoever was there, and then they should have issued an apology. Bunny High should have issued an apology for that situation properly and made it clear that it was an accident, that they didn't mean, you know, to seem racist, or at least didn't mean to use racist language, and explain that immediately. But as you guys know, classically, with these games, there's usually a lot of problematic things, and usually the people don't just apologize for what they've done wrong. Instead, they obviously choose to make it worse. So instead of the other server members and things like that, and the moderators and stuff choosing to apologize, when the channel members, the public, started to become irritated with this and were trying to express why they were irritated, the server members, the moderators, responded by silencing them all, closing down all of the chats, stopping them from being able to talk, but leaving the chats readable. And then the server staff, while the server chats were unavailable for everyone else to talk in, began making jokes. Some of those we have screenshots of on Twitter, which you guys can go and check out, of course. Various things like one of the moderators responded something like, I followed Bunny High on all social media and my acne went away. And the owner responded and said, it's true, or something like that. Obviously, making jokes like that is not acceptable during a time where people are trying to obviously clearly show you that there's been racism in your server. Now, I do have some screenshots, which I will show you guys, because when someone is trying to explain to you about racism, you don't choose to make jokes. That seems very, very odd. So if you guys bear with me 1 second, I can show you some of these screenshots. So basically, during this period of time when the racism issues were coming up and people were trying to express these issues, one of the moderators of the server posted this screenshot here, which says, "I had acne, then I followed Bunny High on all social media platforms and my skin was cleared." To which one of the founders and owners responded, "True story." During a server lockdown as a result of people trying to deal with racism. This obviously is not acceptable, to be making jokes that are unrelated to the situation rather than apologizing and dealing with the situation. So when I saw the apology from that founder later on, obviously I didn't accept that apology. It's not my place to accept it anyway, but obviously I didn't expect that apology was really realistic, because they're only now choosing to apologize as a result of all the backlash. Because if they were really sorry, they wouldn't have made jokes in the first place. They'd apologize straight away. So then anyways, in the Bunny High Discord, somebody sent a screenshot of what one of the moderators had said during all of this arguments. And as you guys can see here, it said, the moderator said, "Everyone in at POC," which, by the way, I just want to make it clear. People of color are not black people. Black people are black people. People of color are people of color. These are two separate groups who shouldn't be being put together, which is why a lot of people write BPOC instead, to be inclusive of both black and people of color, which they should be doing too, but that's another topic. It said here, "It has come to my attention that this chat is getting way out of hand. I'm not saying everyone in here is, just a few of you. It has come to the point that even other people of color can't look at this chat anymore," which I would like to see which people of color have actually expressed that they feel that this argument against racism is a problem. "Gatekeeping is absolutely not allowed in any way, shape, or form." Now, last time I checked, being angry about somebody being racist and trying to express that is not gatekeeping. And I don't understand why they use the term gatekeeping against people trying to defend themselves from racist comments, which is very weird. Then they said, "Especially if you're gatekeeping another person who is actually POC. Sadly, there's already been a few who have fell victim to this treatment. This chat was not made to bash and disrespect. This chat is a safe space and where everyone can bond and make friends. Be welcome and respected by everyone. This is a verbal warning for everyone who partook or partakes in this situation." This is the part that really boggled my mind. "This chat is not only a safe space, but also a privilege to have." So not only is it a safe space, but black people and people of color should feel... What should they feel? Should they feel glad that you've given them a black and person of color chat? It's a privilege now to have your own safe space. I find it very, very strange, because last time I checked, it's not a privilege to need a safe space. Now, just to note, because Wem just said in my chat, I think they meant people gatekeeping the POC channel. Well, either way, it's not gatekeeping to want a safe space for yourself, right? And I found it very confusing reading that they said it was a privilege to have this chat, because I think that a lot of black and people of color out there will quite happily tell you that it is not a privilege to need that safe space in the first place. Because if they didn't experience so much inequality and racism, lack of dignity, and lack of respect from other human beings purely based on the color of their skin, they would not need a safe space. So trust me, I'm sure they would feel much more privileged to be able to access every other space that every other person is able to access freely without racism. It is not a privilege to need a safe space. They need that safe space because we don't make our public spaces safe enough for them. So it is not a privilege. Again, people do make mistakes with their wording. I get it, I understand. But they have not handled this well at all. And in fact, the founder then decided to release a statement, which I can read to you guys because I have a screenshot of it, even though they've now taken it down. Their apology's been removed. for some reason, which I find very confusing, but their apology said, this is from Ryu. Hello everyone, I know you guys are all anxious and upset and have a right to feel so. Just so this, do you know what guys, actually, let me just turn the music off because I just realized that it's kind of a bit obtrusive, isn't it, for the situation at hand. This apology said, hello everyone, I know you guys are all anxious and upset and have a right to feel so. Just know the staff team has not been screwing around or ignoring what you guys are saying. We have been actively working to help everyone who is upset right now. I'd like to apologize wholeheartedly to the black community. You guys were upset and the way we handled things was wrong. The higher-ups do not see that and genuinely apologize. The higher-ups do see that, sorry, and genuinely apologize. You guys have a right to be upset. We're sorry. I'm sorry it took so long to get back to you. Overall, we are genuinely very sorry. We're handling all ends involved. That's a promise. Bob has been demoted from staff team as well. That's the person who made the comment originally. Can I say before I read the rest of this apology, this should not have taken this long. They shouldn't have been making jokes first and being insensitive first before this apology came out. This should be the first thing they did. They should have apologized immediately. And immediately dealt with the moderator, whether the moderator gets demoted or whether they're educated, because if they could just realize that the racism, that the comments that they made were not actually made to be racist, because they weren't obviously like severe racism, they weren't using derogatory terms, they obviously could be educated and sure that they obviously didn't realize, take accountability and move on. But they chose instead, the fact that they chose to make jokes first and be insensitive first before they apologized. That makes this whole apology very much, in my opinion, invalid. Can we see the apology? Absolutely. I can certainly share the apology. Just a moment, sorry. Yeah, here we go. So the apology is here. This is the second half. I'll just grab you the first half as well. So this is the first half. There you go. This is in the server announcements chat, which they've now taken down. There's the apology. So as you guys can see, it says what I just read, and then the rest of what I was reading follows on as... let me just open it back up. Follows on as... I'd also like to apologize for how things have been running in general. The founders and all higher-ups agree we did not prepare for such a large community. We were unprepared, and that is absolutely on us. We're very sorry if our incompetence and lack of preparation has upset anyone in any way. Your lack of preparation did not upset anyone. Racist comments and complacence and ignorance to those comments is what upset people. That's what upset people was not that the server got too big. I realize they're saying that it's on them, but they are blaming the community here. When they say that they weren't expecting it to blow, that's like me saying, oh, I didn't know my videos would get so big, so I didn't feel like I needed to block racism. I didn't know that my Discord server was going to get so big, so like, I don't need to stop racism in there because it's not my fault. I didn't know it was going to get so big. But yeah, it is. You should always have that planned in advance. You should always know that regardless of the size of your server, racist comments or racist raids and things like that can happen at any point. Hi, Hunter. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Sorry, we're just in the middle of an important topic, but thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. I hope you had a good stream. Like, you should always be prepared for these things. They have a fairly large staff team. So how is that not prepared for? I don't understand that. They should have been prepared for this way, way, way earlier than this. Anyways, it says here, I'd also like to apologize for how things have been running in general. So that's the bit I just read. And then again, we are very sorry. Everyone who is upset you're valid. We will learn to do better for the community from here on out. You all matter very much. Thank you for being here. Now, the problem with this is that it sounds like they're blaming the community instead of taking accountability for the fact that they weren't prepared for it. And it isn't the community's fault that this happened. It's their fault that they didn't deal with it in time and that their moderator began this situation. And instead of just apologizing immediately for it, which they should have done straight away, they chose instead to make jokes, be insensitive, make that apology, and then, after this apology, they took it down. So not only did they make this apology, but they don't even feel confident enough in their own apology and took the apology down. So not only have they then just shown us that their apology clearly wasn't good enough, even in their opinion, to keep it up on Discord, but also they've privated every other server chat inside the Discord server. So if you go to Bunny High's Discord now, It's completely private. Everything's private. They've taken everything away. They've now made a channel that just says statement, which has no statement in it yet, so I'm assuming they're going to make one. Now, I want to remind you guys that this is the same team that thought it would be a good idea to utilize the 𝕚𝕚 situation to promote their game. During the 𝕚𝕚 situation, which was to highlight issues during the Black History Month related updates that came out obviously a couple of months ago, and you guys will know a lot about the issues. That movement was to highlight issues in Royale High and bring to light the issues that the Black and people of color community in our community were suffering and dealing with. And they utilized that as an opportunity to make their game grow, which was in very poor taste. Which, yes, I was told they did apologize for, but how do none of these games realize that they should have teams in place for this? Who is running all of these games' social medias? Why are all these things getting out? Why are they being allowed to be tweeted? Do they just have one person on the team who decides to tweet these things and then they're like, maybe we should have a system for confirming things before they get tweeted? Big games usually have a staff team of people that check over these things and filter it before they get tweeted. How did this go through all of the founders and all of the moderators and somehow still end up being tweeted? How did they think that was a good idea? How do these statements and apologies keep getting through all of these people, but not being checked first to make sure that they're actually accurate and meaningful before they're shared? I've even been told that that apparently a lot of the developers are freaking out because of this situation, and they also know that I've spoken about the situation and are freaking out about that as well. I shouldn't need to talk about this situation because it either shouldn't have happened or you should have apologized and dealt with it immediately. We all make mistakes. We're all human beings. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a perfect human who's never made a mistake, because I have, 100%. But when you make a mistake, you take accountability, you learn from that mistake, and you apologize for it. You don't make senseless jokes needlessly, act insensitively, and then take it all down. For a game that continually said they were going to do better than the other games and actually use the 𝕚𝕚 situation to promote the fact that they were going to be an inclusive game for everybody, that was going to be different to what we're all used to, they seemed to have the exact same core problematic issues as every other game that we've been complaining about for the last few months. So it was very much handled poorly. I find this very confusing that these things that keep being allowed to slip through. And the reason I decided to stream this for you guys, I didn't want to give you like a chopped up edited video. I wanted to properly speak to you guys, give you the opportunity to respond, and hopefully give you as much as I possibly could, you know, of my understanding. I will be honest, you guys, obviously, I am not great with my words when it comes to figuring stuff out like this quickly. And I believe Kat is going to stream if Kat is not already streaming yet. I think Kat is going to stream, in which case I am going to raid Kat if she does stream before I finish, because I do think she will cover the topic really well. But I just don't understand why these things are happening still. I don't understand why people don't think before they speak. It's really not difficult to do that. Kat has a space on Twitter. Okay. I just don't understand why people don't think before they speak about these things. And I find it very frustrating because this shouldn't still be happening. Black people and people of colour should not be entering spaces where they don't feel like they're accepted or that they have the same rights as everybody else, because they should have those rights everywhere. And I just don't understand how this is still happening. It's not that hard to understand. They're just human beings like us that have a different skin tone or a different skin colour or pigment or whatever wording they choose to describe themselves, of course. The same beating heart, the same 2 lungs, the same organs inside, the same blood running through their veins, the same emotions, the same brain power, the same abilities as us. I do not understand this. I literally cannot get it into my head. I just cannot process how we still live in 2022 with people who think that black people and people of color are less than white people. I just cannot get it through my head. It just doesn't make sense to me. And the reason it doesn't make sense is because it is stupid.